guys, it's Sierra, and fall is officially upon us. The first day of fall was only a couple days ago, so today I decided to do a fall reading recommendations video. So I have put together a list of 5 books that I think either perfectly suit fall or just remind me of fall while I'm reading them, or just basically have the essence of fall, which for me. So let's just go ahead and get started. So whenever I think of fall, when I think of books, I always think of either fantasy or historical fiction. So my first book is actually a fantasy novel, and it is Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson. Queen of the Tearling is an adult fantasy novel that follows a girl named Kelsey who has been living far away. She's a queen and she's living far away from her kingdom. She's raised away from her kingdom and her mother, and now she's kind of going back to her kingdom to reclaim her crown. This book is this is one of the first adult fantasy novels I read, and I was kind of intimidated by it because, hello, Game of Thrones is adult. I thought every adult fantasy was really complicated with a billion characters, but I love this book so much. It's fantasy. The cover just reminds me of fall for some reason, and I love this book. And whenever, the first book I thought of when I was trying to put this list together was Queen of the Tearling. It's absolutely fantastic. You guys should all read it, and it's amazing. And yeah. So the next book is a historical fiction novel, and as I said, historical fiction always reminds me so much of fall, and so this one is one of my favorite historical fiction, maybe my favorite historical fiction novel of all time, and that is The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. This book follows a girl named Liesel who is an orphan girl, and she goes to live with this family during Nazi Germany. This book is so popular. It's basically she hides a Jew in her house, and she also steals books because books were something that were burned back then in that time, which is terrible, but she used to do that. And it's about a story of her and a man that she saves, and she hides in her basement a Jewish man who the Nazi, of course, it's a very dangerous time for them. And this book is very unique. It's actually narrated by, I guess you could say, Death. It's very unique. It's very different from anything I've ever read, and so the writing is beautiful too. The story is so beautiful, and it's really sad. You guys have probably already read this book because this is a amazing popular book, but if you have not, you should definitely read The Book Thief because it's so good. So the next book on this list is a book that's not really fantasy or historical fiction, but it's something that has the essence of fall, which is, for me, I always think of it fall as warm and just sweaters and comfy clothes and everything related to that. But I live in California, and in California it's pretty much 80 degrees and it's going to 90s next week, so we don't have fall quite yet. But I used to live in Seattle. In Seattle, literally it's 50 degrees, it's raining, and it's gloomy, and that's what I kind of associate with fall, and of course pretty leaves, of course. But this one is something that reminds me of something warm, like friendship, and this book is friendship is a very big theme for this book, and that is A List of Cages by Robin Rowe. This book follows a boy named Adam who is in his senior year of high school, and he has gotten an elective to be the assistant to the school psychologist. He thinks this is a super easy elective because all he does is text his friends all day because he doesn't really need to do anything, until the psychologist tells him to go after this boy who has been avoiding his appointments with the school psychologist for quite some time. So Adam goes and meets this boy named Julian, who turns out to be his foster brother that he had 5 years ago. So after he learns about that, they reconnect. Adam takes Julian under his wing, and they just form this super connected friendship that is so beautiful. And this book almost made me cry, and no other book has made me cry as close to A List of Cages. But yes, this friendship, I love it so much. Julian is one of my favorite characters. He's so adorable, and I want to always just keep him close and tell him nice things, and it's just such a beautiful book. And I've talked non-stop about this book on in my every video. I feel like I've mentioned this book, but if you have not read this book, I highly just suggest you get it. The fourth book I have on this list is Cara Ball by Stephanie Garber. For this book literally screams fall for some reason. I don't even know why. This book is just very magical in my opinion. It's kind of like The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, but on a young adult level, I guess, because The Night Circus is an adult novel. This book follows a girl named Scarlett and her sister Tella, where they live on this island, and they have been kind of far away from everything, and Scarlett's father wants to marry her off. And Scarlett has always wanted to see this once-a-year performance of Cara Ball, which is this magical circus that happens once a year, and you can only go if you have an invitation. And she finally gets an invitation, so she leaves with her and her sister to go to Cara Ball when her sister goes missing, and she has to find out where she is. So Scarlett goes to Cara Ball and she tries to find her sister, and the whole story follows her trying to find her sister throughout going through the circus. So this book, I don't know why it reminds me of fall, it just does, so I'm just putting it on this list, but if you haven't read it yet, you definitely should. And the fifth and last book I have on this list for my fall reading recommendations is Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. Truth Witch is about a girl named Safia who is a truth witch, which means she can tell truth from lies, and her best friend Isolde is a thread witch, which means she can kind of see how the threads of her community are connected, so how different people are connected to each other. It's kind of complicated to explain, but that's how it's explained in the book. And both of them are being chased by this blood witch, and basically the story is how they're going through and they meet a wind witch who can, I guess, control the wind. And this book is a fantasy novel, and that's why I put it on this list, because as I said before, fantasy just reminds me of fall all the time. Like every fantasy book I remember, like I always connect it with fall for some reason, so this is the only reason why I put it on this list. But other than that, this book is so great. This is one of the first novels I read which wasn't entirely focused on romance. This Safia and Isolde's friendship is amazing in this. It's such a powerful friendship, and I love that because they care so much for each other, and they're out there for each other. They have each other's backs, and I really like that about this book. So that is it for my fall reading recommendations. Let me know down below what are some books that remind you of fall, or that you like your favorite fall reading recommendations, as I would love to know. But that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye!